The C6 Corvette is gaining a lot of traction as one of the best value sports cars on the used car market right now. And for that reason, I actually went ahead and bought one myself. However, this isn't all sunshine and rainbows because these cars do have one major issue. Now, I bought my C6 Corvette maybe a month or two ago. If you haven't seen the video on that, be sure to go check it out after this one. I will leave a link in the description. But I managed to snag this 2005 red C6 Corvette at a very nice price. Now, I thought this was all fine and dandy until I learned that these cars have one critical issue, and that is the harmonic balancer failure that the LS2 and LS3 engines experience. Now, the C6 Corvette came with the LS2 engine from 2005 to 2007, and the LS3 from 2008 to 2013. Now, today I'm going to be showing you how to diagnose this issue, see if your particular car has the problem, and if it does, I'm going to be telling you how to get it fixed, what is the best course of action to do so, and why is it so critical that you do get it fixed, which it is very important to not let this go. So, with that being said, let's take a look under the hood. Now, as we take a look under the hood of the C6 Corvette, this might look like a bald eagle's nest, which it certainly is. However, there is quite a bit more going on here. On the front side of your LS2 or LS3 engine, you'll notice that there's an assortment of pulleys, each of them which is wrapped around with the serpentine belt. Now, at the very bottom, your largest pulley is known as your harmonic balancer or crank pulley. And this serves two main purposes. The first is to extract energy from the engine and use it to power other systems on the vehicle. For example, when your crankshaft rotates, it spins that crank pulley, which pulls on the serpentine belt, and as a result allows us to have our alternator rotate, which charges our battery, or things like our water pump also operate off of this feature. Additionally, there's a phenomenon in forced vibrations known as resonance, in which everything that has a mass and stiffness, such as your crankshaft or any engine component, has a natural frequency that it likes to vibrate at. However, when you force it at that same frequency, or the engine cylinders are firing at that same exact frequency, you hit what's called resonance, where our crankshaft or any other engine component can vibrate at an extraordinary amplitude that is likely to result in a part failure. Now, to prevent this, we use this harmonic balancer to damp out these vibrations and avoid such a thing from happening. So it is a pretty critical part for your engine for those two reasons. Now, on these cars, it has a tendency to start to wobble and break down over time, and that is a problem. First and foremost, because it can warp your crankshaft and cause you to have to get an engine rebuild. That's obviously in an extreme case, that's highly unlikely, but it is still something that can happen and a reason to watch out for this. On top of that, it can also take down other components with you as it wobbles and that serpentine belt pulls on other pulleys. It can warp or bend your alternator stem or anything else that is pretty much operating within there. So your water pump, it can bring all of those other things down with it. So how do you spot it? So as you go ahead and look at your engine bay, if we come to this front side here, you can see your assortment of pulleys. Here's your tensioner right here. It's the big pulley at the very bottom down there. I don't know if you can see it. I am zooming in on it. There we go. It is that big crank pulley at the very bottom. That is what is driving the entire serpentine belt and allowing all of these other pulleys to rotate. Now, what you're going to do is start your engine and watch this pulley. So now that your engine is running, you're just going to be taking a look at that same harmonic balancer pulley, and what you're looking for is any kind of wobbling. As it sits and rotates, it's going to make any instability a lot more obvious. The one in this video that you're seeing is what a good one looks like, as it was just replaced with a better part than the OEM one. It should seem nice and stable as it rotates. It might vibrate a little bit, but what you're mainly looking for is any kind of wobbling, even if it's only a little bit. So now that you've went ahead and checked your harmonic balancer pulley, now we are either left with one of two things. Either it was perfectly stable like mine was in the video, and that's because I just got mine replaced, and in that scenario you're good and you don't have to do anything, but you still should keep an eye on it and see if it starts wobbling over time. Scenario 2 is if yours is wobbling even a little bit as it starts to wobble, and eventually that wobbling will get bigger and bigger. If that is the scenario that you have found yourself in, you do have to get it replaced. Now, you could go one of two ways with doing this. You can either put the OEM part back in there. A lot of times a dealership will do this and give you a warranty on it or something like that, but I find that that has been a little bit more expensive. I just went ahead and replaced mine. So all the dealerships I tried to contact were asking about $2,000 to $3,000 to do it, whereas a lot of local shops and private shops were asking for anywhere between $1,200 and $1,500. So if you go private as opposed to a dealer, you will save a bit of money, but you will not get any kind of warranty on the part. Now, as far as the part itself is concerned goes, you can put the OEM one back in, but I don't really understand why you would do that. I would actually advise against it because this car had 30,000 miles on it and the harmonic balancer broke. And if something is poorly engineered enough to the point where it is breaking at 30,000 miles of usage, then I would not want to put the same one in. I've heard stories on the forums of people getting one fixed with an OEM part and it breaking as they drive off of the lot. It really is that bad of a part. So if you're going to spend the time and money to go and get this fixed, do it correctly. Don't put the OEM part back in. I would strongly advise the Power Bond harmonic balancer is a very good brand to go with. That could be found for pretty cheap, or really any aftermarket harmonic balancer, as many companies have come along and come up with a much better and more viable solution to this issue. If you get a stronger one, you will be set for the life of the car as opposed to it potentially breaking again in the future. So if you have to spend a little bit more to get the aftermarket part, I would say it is 1000% worth it, as you are going to be able to not only save yourself time, money, and frustration, but you're likely not going to have to do it ever again. So that's going to be about it for this video. I just want to wrap up with a few final things. First and foremost is I would not attempt this job yourself unless you are an extremely good mechanic, because it is quite a difficult task, and I honestly think that it's not worth the time and effort, and a shop is going to be better equipped to handle this kind of issue. Second, I do want to say that the LS2 and the LS3 are truly incredible engines and are really pretty problem-free. They just happen to have this one fault from the factory, which is no fault of Chevy's, as this is a part that they were outsourcing, and the company that they outsourced to just happened to fail at what it was asked to do. And the last thing would be just don't push it off. I was tempted to do that when I found that mine was wobbling, but after a bit of research, I found that it can warp your crankshaft, it can take down your alternator, your water pump, and that's just not stuff that I wanted to deal with. So instead of letting the problem compound itself, it's best to just get it dealt with as quickly and swiftly as possible. And with that being said, if you found this video helpful, I would really appreciate if you subscribe to the channel to see more stuff like this. I plan on doing a lot more stuff with the C6 Corvette in the future. And with that being said, thank you for watching and have a great day.